you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Thursday, April 10. I don't remember was the last time I felt so much pressure to perform on a podcast, because the last thing I want to do is have less views than people watching airport doors open for about an hour and 15 minutes or so, because the Eagle has landed. Ivan Demidov landed at Toronto Pearson Airport earlier this evening at 7:37 p.m. He actually ended up coming through the doors at 8:35 p.m. And the Sick Podcast was there live. The Cavallaro family, Agnello, Sammy, Juliana, and Rosa were there to see Ivan Demidov come through. They tried to bring him through other doors. Agnello was very, very quick to follow, being very respectful, as he always is, of people's space and all of that stuff. More than about 400,000 people have viewed the video that all of Quebec and all Montreal Canadiens fans around the world wanted to see Ivan Demidov stepping foot in Canada. So he is in Toronto, where it looks like the plan is that he will stay there. The Canadiens visit the Senators in Ottawa tomorrow night. After the game, they will fly to Toronto. And when they arrive at the airport, it looks like they will meet Ivan Demidov at the hotel. When they arrive at the hotel, they'll either meet him there, and if they don't meet him Friday at the airport because they're going to get in late at night, maybe early Saturday morning, they'll be able to meet him Saturday morning at breakfast or for a morning skate. Without further ado, let me bring in our regular, usually on Wednesdays, but he's joining us tonight on Thursday, Craig Button, TSN hockey analyst and director of scouting, and Brian Wilde from Global TV Montreal. Brian, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Craig, what are we talking about tonight?
I don't know. Maybe at some point we should talk about Demidov. I said this yesterday on Mitch Melnick's show with John Still and Andy Bennett. I don't think there's been this type of atmosphere around the Montreal Canadiens since 1971, when Beliveau retired, winning his last Stanley Cup in a phenomenal, and Guy Lafleur was gonna take the mantle. I haven't seen anything like this since that time.
And you know what, Craig? I agree with you, Brian. I said that it looks like he could be the best offensive talent the Canadiens have drafted since Lafleur. Some took exception, but then I said, well, really, who are the best offensive talents the Canadiens have drafted since Lafleur? Mats Naslund in 1979, very good player. Stéphane Richer in 1984, very good player. Based on what we're hearing and based on what we've seen, I stand by those comments. Ivan Demidov can be the best offensive talent the Canadiens have drafted since Lafleur. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and that's okay. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on this either. I'm also going by what a lot of people who have seen him play live have actually told me as well. We've seen the images. We've seen the highlights. We've seen some flashes. We've seen some games. We've heard a lot. I spoke with Zach Fucale earlier today, who is playing in Russia, and his team actually won their last game 2-0, and they've advanced to the next round of the playoffs. I would have liked to have got him on my radio show on BPM Sports Monday to Friday at 9:50 a.m. to 11:50 a.m. And Zach was, you like that, eh, Craig? And Zach was fantastic. He said, listen, Tony, be more than happy to talk to you, but not on the air, but I got a couple of minutes for you. But my team has advanced to the playoffs, and my focus, I really wanted to be there. But I mean, I got a minute or two for you, no problem. I said, sure. I said to him, I said, what's the best thing about Demidov? I asked him, and he said, his creativity. He's so creative on the ice. He does things that other people don't think of doing, and he does them with relatively with ease. And then he said, his hands, they're just unbelievable. So I said, what are the troubles? What are the problems he's going to encounter? And he said, well, he says he'll come into a new system, and he needs more experience at playing without the puck. And he's going to go into the National Hockey League, which is the best league in the world. And he's going to get burned at times. But he says the NHL does that to everybody. It burns you sooner or later. So that'll happen to him too. He said, but Tony, based on everything I've seen, there's no reason not to believe that this guy will be a tremendous player in the National Hockey League. Brian?
Well, when he was drafted, I right away said that I thought that he would become the first 100-point player on Montreal Canadiens this century. The previous mark when I said it was Alex Kovalev with 84 points in 2008. And Nick Suzuki has just passed him. So it's been a very long time. Before that, you had to go back to the last century where Pierre Turgeon was tops with 96. 100-point man. It's been, lifetimes.
Matt Snaslin, 110 points.
There you go. What year?
Yeah. I'm going to say 86 when they won the cup.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's an incredible amount of years. 40 years. Imagine that, eh?
Craig, pick up on what you were saying about the most hype since Lafleur, because I read what's going on social media, and I'm sure you do too. And you've heard what a lot of people are saying. A lot of people are worried about too much pressure on a young player. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a couple things I'm going to say. First, I love Zach Fucale. Let's keep in mind, okay, Zach Fucale played with Nathan McKinnon with the Halifax Mooseheads. I think that he's very qualified to talk about players that he feels could be stars. I think he's very qualified to say that. He's seated up close. They won a Memorial Cup together. I don't know if there's any more pressure, like to this point in time, that Demidov has been handled brilliantly. You think going and playing in Ska as a 19-year-old, there's not pressure? I mean, there's pressure every single day to play for a top organization in the KHL like Ska. And then you're 19 and you're the 5th overall pick in the NHL, and everybody wants to see how good you are. And I've said this many a times over the course of this year. He wasn't just a good first-year player. He was amongst the very best players in the KHL this season. That's pressure. That's understanding that people are trying to stop you. He understands that. Every player is going to go through that experience of, okay, I can do a little bit more of this. I'm going to have to do a little bit less of that. That's just part of turning pro in the National Hockey League. But when you're playing in a league as strong as the KHL against players that are really good, and you have the success that Demidov had, playing for an organization that puts a lot of pressure on you. I go back to his interview last year at the draft. I remember sitting there, and keep in mind, he did a lot of that interview in English, his second language, and he wasn't daunted. I love it. I know all about the Montreal Canadiens. I know what I was going to be. Lafleur hadn't played when he came in there as hyped, but that's the last time I've seen anything approaching this. That's the last time I've seen anything. And I think that one of the, creativity, Demidov is very mature emotionally and mentally. And I think that you see players that at that age have that. I think that allows them to be able to come in and understand, number one, what the pressures are, what the demands are, where the team is at now. But I also think it allows them to perform.
I think it's important too to understand that players of that talent with those expectations, like they don't think like I do. Like I think like an amateur. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think like somebody who gets scared of things. Something drops
Mhm.
beside me really and makes a big noise. I get scared. They don't think like that. They want this. They're happy to bring it on. They anticipate it with excitement. Like Kobe Bryant is a perfect example where
Yep.
Kobe Bryant would always tell you that he wants this moment. Give me the damn ball. And great people at their craft want the pressure, want the moment where they get to excel and have an expectation that they'll be the one to get it done. So I think he's that guy because of that talent.
How about
Let me
his,
add one thing.
Yeah, please
The
do.
Super Bowl, Tom Brady's first Super Bowl was against the St. Louis Rams, and Kurt Warner and everything was going with it. And the Rams tied it up late in the game. John Madden, the great John Madden, was on the broadcast with Pat Summerall. And there was less than a minute left. And John Madden, oh, wow, rookie quarterback. They're just going to, run it. They're going to get to overtime. Belichick came out. Tom Brady throws down the field. Adam Vinatieri sticks the winning field goal with no time on the clock. And there's one reason why that happened, to Brian's point. The reason I bring that up is because Bill Belichick knew what Tom Brady was capable of. And Tom Brady said, I can do it. Maybe John Madden didn't think he could do it, but Bill Belichick knew that Brady could do it, and Brady knew I could do it.
Some are saying so much pressure on the kid and all that stuff, but I mentioned this to Grant McCagg and Snake Boisvert, who joined me last night on the Sick podcast. I said, guys, PK Subban had played 2 games with the Montreal Canadiens in 2010 versus the Philadelphia Flyers. And Andrei Markov was hurt in those playoffs. You remember, Brian, versus the Washington Capitals in round 1 and versus the Pittsburgh Penguins in round 2. The Capitals were the best team in the East, and the Penguins were the second best team in the East. PK Subban was the Montreal Canadiens' best defenseman. He was unbelievable. Cole Caulfield joined the Montreal Canadiens out of collegiate hockey in 2021. He played the final 10 games of the season. I think he scored 4 goals. In the playoffs, he scored some big goals. And Robin Leonard said, you know what? He just always goes glove side. Easy to stop. He got in all alone on Robin Leonard. He picked up glove side and he beat him. And he had a really good playoff and came up instrumental in round 1 versus Toronto. Canadiens went to the Stanley Cup final, and everyone knows what happened. Lane Hudson 1 year ago was at Boston University, and everyone said, this kid, he's good, but he's good at university. 5'9", 159 pounds, whatever. And there were a couple who obviously believed in him a lot, like Craig Button, who's here in front of us, and Pierre Maguire, who had a chance to see him play quite a bit and practice quite a bit because he lived nearby. And Lane Hudson came in, and some people said, I wonder if he's going to make the Montreal Canadiens. He probably won't. He's probably going to sit out. If he does, they're probably going to do load management with him and all that stuff. Down the stretch here, there's 4 games left in the regular season. Lane Hudson plays 23, 24 minutes a game. There's some games where he plays more than anybody else. He's on the first wave of the power play. He got that spot after a month and a half, but he could have very, very easily had it after 1 week into the season. He's entered the Montreal Canadiens history books already. He's top 5 in pretty much every statistical category there is to have for defensemen, especially on the offensive side of the game. He's probably not just top 5 in plus minus, but he is since January 1st, by the way. But other than that, he's like pretty much an great players are great players. And for me, you just said it, Brian, what could be pressure to you and I, right? And I'm not saying that he's not going to find it tough, but what I'm saying is he's good. The cream will rise to the top. I'm not worried. I'm not telling everyone that he's going to score right away, but if he would, I wouldn't be surprised, Craig.
Why would you be? I mean, he's been a brilliant player. And, you talk, Cole won the Hobie Baker. So, like, we talk about, like when you're the NHL, there's going to be some growth that's necessary. But you got to come to the NHL ready. Cole Caulfield was ready. Lane Hudson was ready. Demidov, in my view, was ready. PK Subban was ready. You don't just come into the NHL because you're a top pick and you got promise and you have potential. The players that are able to come in, like, why would Cole Caulfield or Lane Hudson come into the National Hockey League and think they couldn't do it? all they've done has been the best amongst the best players wherever they were, just like Demidov has been, Brian. It's no different to your point. I think your point is we can sit here and go, they don't think they can't. And guess what?
That's right.
They've continuously shown that they can.
And I think that they have the right head coach too. I believe that this is a head coach that understands how to develop their games to bring out the best that they can be, while at the same time teaching them how to improve their weaknesses. That's what I've seen the Canadiens do in 3 years in this rebuild, getting the most of it. In some instances, like Josh Anderson and Brendan Gallagher, rewriting what they are as hockey players to keep them succeeding in the NHL. And for a moment that Demidov maybe has some difficulty with one of the things that may be elevated in the NHL game a little high for him, San Luis will point it out. They'll look at video. They'll find solutions on how to work out any problems, maybe some play away from the puck, for example, and he'll rise above it, no problem at all. I have the utmost confidence that he's going to be the star that everybody thinks he's going to be.
Brian and Craig,
I want to add one thing,
Please
Brian,
do.
I just really quickly. He's also done that. Like, I mean, Marty has been brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
He's done it with Josh Anderson. I mean, like, we talk about like what he's done with Josh Anderson, like that's coaching. That's what coaches do. They find ways to bring out the best in players, regardless of where they're at in their career or what they once were capable of doing. They may not be anymore, but Marty hasn't ever looked at a player and said, "Oh, you can't do this for me anymore. Therefore, I'm casting you aside." And I think he's been brilliant. I think Marty's been brilliant.
Craig and Brian, this is the thing that I love about Marty St. Louis the most. I think out of all of his qualities, okay? I want you to think back at a time when the Canadiens had a defenseman by the name of Piquet Subban, who made a couple of mistakes every now and then, and the puck ended up going in his own net. I don't know, Brian, if you recall the game in Colorado. You remember that game-winning goal?
I can remember very well.
Some will say that he was not the only one to blame on a goal being scored against the Montreal Canadiens, yet he was, somewhat vilified after the game in the coach's press conference. He was handled differently by the coach. It was maybe a different era back then too. But now think about all the times when Lane Hudson has made mistakes, because he's made a lot of them this year. And the puck has gone in his own net. He's still on the ice thereafter. And if he goes back on the bench, he's right back at their next shift. And Max Lapierre said something incredibly interesting a couple of nights ago when he said, a lot of people look at Mike Matheson, for example, and he'll make a mistake and they'll say, made a mistake and he's awful, he's terrible, he's this, he's that, I don't even know why he's in the lineup, why do they play him, they shouldn't be there, Canadiens would be better without him. And he says he played for the Vancouver Canucks and Alain Vigneault. When he played for the Vancouver Canucks and Alain Vigneault, they used to have a chart where they used to put a bad play is a minus and a very good play is a plus. So he says Matheson could have been on the ice for a goal against, and he could have made a brutal mistake, and he would have got a minus for it. But if he would have made 8 great plays in the game, he would have ended up +7 at the end of the night in Vigneault's eyes. And that's the way he saw it. And I think that's the way Marty sees it too. And Marty says, you know what? Lane Hudson does me more good than bad. I'll close my eyes when he makes a mistake. He's going to do that with Demidov too. If Demidov's on the ice and it leads to a goal against, he's not going to get benched. Now, the leash will probably be longer in the regular season next year because there's going to be so much at stake in the playoffs. But I think you're right. I don't think Ivan Demidov could have landed on a better coach than Marty St. Louis, Brian. I think he's got the best coach for him.
And one of the things that Martin St. Louis likes to say is I don't really teach the guy with the puck. I teach the 4 guys that don't have the puck where they need to go because of where the guy with the puck, what he is doing, or when the other team has the puck. And that's what he coaches. So I like that when I think of Demidov, because with the puck, like Demidov's going to basically teach everybody else.
We are going to get
so
to your questions tonight because I know you have a lot of them. We're going to keep Craig Button for another 5 minutes more. He's got work obligations, and we so appreciate his time tonight. Craig, thank you. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. It's also brought to you in part by Playground. Their April high hand promotion is giving away over $150,000 in cash prizes this month at their cash game poker tables, 7 days a week and 5 nights a week. Go and play anytime from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. or enjoy the late night games from 9:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. for a chance to win. Payouts every 30 minutes. Get in on the action at Playground. Visit playground.ca for details. And also brought to you by Tibi. They launched a new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those nice spring days. With only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. We have the video footage. Craig, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Once again, Ivan Demidov has been in Istanbul for a couple of days. Craig?
I just want to make one point about what Brian and we were talking about Lane Hudson before.
Yeah.
Raymond Bourque won the Calder Trophy as a defenseman. And I'm going to tell you what Harry Sinden said about him. He said, Raymond, a couple of times a night, he makes a pretty big mistake, and sometimes it ends up in our net. But Raymond Bourque does about 20 things every night that helps us win a lot more games than we lose. He goes, if I start worrying about the 1 or 2, I'm also going to take away the 20 that helps us be successful. It's not the right trade-off. One of the greatest defensemen that ever played was Raymond Bourque. If you think guys are not going to make mistakes, give your head a shake.
Paul Coffey made a lot of mistakes. I take Paul Coffey on my team any day of the week.
If I could get 10 seconds on that, in terms of what Craig just said, in terms of Mike Matheson, if Martin St. Louis is going to him for 30 minutes a game, and the Canadiens are 17 points better than everyone thought they were going to be this season, how bad can the guy be that's on the ice for half of the game? When they're overachieving by as much as they have. And he's playing against the best players all the time.
And
where does this come from? It's illogical.
And he's playing on a team that finished 5th last in the last couple of years. You're right about that. And the year before that. All right. Okay. Demidov was in Istanbul. He had taken a flight from St. Petersburg to Istanbul. He had to stay there for a while to get his visa and all that stuff. And once it was all cleared, he left earlier today, a 10-hour flight from Istanbul to Toronto. This is when he came out of the doors at around 8:35 p.m. at Toronto Pearson Airport. Let's take a look at the footage.
Ivan, what are you going to do?
Stay back. Please, to the left, to the left.
Can't get to him, guys. Too many guards.
Give him some space. We're giving him some space now. We love you, man. Demidov. We love you, buddy.
Demidov. 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 Demidov.
Demidov.
You're the man. You're the man, man.
We love you, Demidov.
You're the man, man.
You two Demidov's girlfriend.
I'm one
for Montreal and the journalist.
One word to Montreal fans, man.
Ivan, come on, just 2 words.
2 words to the Montreal fans.
Touch me, man. Don't touch me.
So 2 media outlets were there. Nicolas Cloutier of TVA Sport was there, and the Cavallaro family of Sick Media were there. It was actually amazing the way it worked out, Craig. They had a business lunch in Toronto. They left yesterday. They had a business lunch today at 1:00 in the afternoon. I call in yellow and I said, you got to go to the airport tonight. Demidov's coming. And he said, really? So he says, you want to laugh? I said, what? He says, I'm staying right across the street from the airport. I said, you got to go. So anyway, he went. We got the footage, and they didn't bring him out through the front doors. They brought him out through a side door. Agnello, presence of mind to actually see it happening as it happened, makes his way to the side door, follows Demidov. And by the way, for those who think poor Demidov, Agnello tells me he had a huge smile on his face, and he actually talked to Agnello and said something, and it looked like he wanted to talk, but he was accompanied by a Montreal Canadiens assistant general manager, John Sedgwick, who probably said, oh, I don't know what would, but there was quite a few people there, and they chose. Personally, I think it was a missed opportunity. I think it would have been awesome for the fan base to hear anything, but I don't hold it against anyone. I mean, it's a long flight, and they were there to protect their player and shield their player, and by all means, they have every right to do so. But Craig, Demidov mania going wild at Pearson Airport earlier this evening. So many Montreal Canadiens fans who made the drive down to go see it and are probably going to stick around to watch the hockey game on Saturday night, I would imagine.
Well, I've walked that same path out of Pearson. I've never faced a mob like that, and anybody calling my name. So, but imagine if that was Montreal. Imagine if that was Trudeau Airport, and he came into there. Again, there's an believable excitement about this young player, and it's palatable, and he's going to get lots of chance. Remember, it's a long flight, and in his timing, he's got to get acclimated to the time zone and get ready to play. He knows what the plan is. He knows that he's going to have to get in there and play, and I mean the excitement that he's going to have. So a little bit of rest, but it's really what it is it's for me. It's so much fun to see the excitement of the Montreal Canadiens fans. And, when he suits up and he starts playing for the Montreal Canadiens, that excitement is only going to grow.
For those, Craig, I want to take this time to thank you so much for joining us tonight. You have some work commitments. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. You and I will talk soon, okay?
Demidov.
Thank you, Craig Button. Take care. All right, Brian Wilde, for those wondering, of course, there were some games that are already completed tonight, and the Rangers just destroyed the New York Islanders by a score of 9-2. So that loss really hurts for the Islanders. Winnipeg beat Dallas and shut them out. Of course they would, because I got like 5 Dallas players in my pool. I needed them to pick up points, and my players are all choking at the wrong time, which is killing me. Florida beat Detroit by a score of 4-1. So the Red Wings, forget it. The Boston Bruins lose 5-2 to the Chicago Blackhawks. Bruins, forget it. And Carolina is tied at 4 with the Washington Capitals. They're in overtime. So once again, and Columbus beat Buffalo by a score of 3-2. So it's a good night for Columbus. It's a good night for the Rangers. It's not a good night for the other teams in the East, chasing the Montreal Canadiens. And you know what? The Canadiens have a very, very comfortable lead. Brian, talk to me about the images that you just saw.
Well, you streamed live for how long? 90 minutes?
No, about an hour 13.
An hour 13. And then how many? You had 400,000 people?
I'm going to go take a look at it right now. But on Twitter, it's... let me just see. Shane, if you can write down the number in our chat, and Shane can do that, and Shane will tell us. How many people, how many views have we had on Twitter, Shane, if you could tell me that? Shane will let me know in just a second. But, between now and then, our partner Betway is giving away a chance to win 445,000.
Come on.
445,000 have had a chance to see it on Twitter. 445,000.
I mean, we all know that's an insane number to watch a guy walk through a couple of doors to a van. That's an insane number.
So Agnello and I were talking about it, and we said, okay, so what are we going to do? So Agnello says, do you want to go live on YouTube? Because we're obviously going to go, we're thinking of taking video footage. And then we said, no, we're going to go live. Okay. So we're going to go live on Twitter. We're going to go live on Facebook, and we're going to go live on YouTube. So Agnello says, do you want to come on? And I said, well, yes and no, but if I go on and I'm waiting for 5 minutes, 15, half an hour, 45, an hour 15, which it ended up being an hour 15, at what point, what am I going to say, right? So he says, yeah, you know what? Don't say anything. We'll get the fans to talk, or we'll just, anyway, the whole time he's there with his iPhone, right? That I'm worried, I'm so worried that his battery's going to go dead. And then he's doing it off of my Twitter account. So I gave him my password. He goes into my account and he goes live. So I'm worried that his battery is going to go dead. And then I'm worried that, Demidov's not going to come out, or they're going to bring. But like I knew he was going to come out either the front or the side doors. But you're just hoping that you just even get a glimpse of him. And look, you know, he didn't say anything, which is too bad, but that's okay. But we got something. And once again, we got the most wanted footage. And I'm going to say this, Brian, because I saw a couple of tweets and a couple of things on social media where it rubs some people the wrong way. And I'm going to say this. He's a public figure who was in a public setting. We were very respectful of him and his space. No harm, no foul. And if it bothers you, because I can tell you that it did not bother Demidov one bit, he was actually happy to see the fans there, to hear them chanting, to see people there. If it bothers you, it either bothers you because you probably aren't just with the times. And 2025 is a time of streaming. You know who it didn't bother? The 500,000 who watched it. It didn't bother them. Because if it would have bothered them, they wouldn't have watched it. And you know who's pretty happy about it? You see those sponsors at the bottom of the screen? La Bittt Tibi, Energy, Playground, Fruiterie de Lard. You see everyone who was up while we went live and the exposure that they got. I could tell you that they're pretty happy about it. So with that said, I'd love to hear what you have to say, Brian.
Well, for me, I'm reminded of the only time at an airport that I could ever remember covering a moment like that was Didier Drogba when he came to the Montreal Impact. I don't know the exact year.
as well. Marco Di Vaio as well.
I wasn't there for Marco Di Vaio, but I was there when people were hanging off lamp posts. And the crowd was so large, it was all in the airport, and then the overflow was actually all around the van he was going to jump in.
Hanging off lampposts too, eh? Really?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It was a wild scene, and I covered it for CTV in the time. I don't know the exact year.
Hanging off of lampposts, right?
Yeah, there were people that were climbing up the lampposts just to get a view from higher up because they couldn't see below if they were, on the ground.
Yeah,
so it was a really insane scene. And then the next day he met the media, and it was at Saputo Stadium. I want to say it was about 2014-ish. And
it was, yeah.
So, and then the actual stadium was packed for the press conference. There were like 3 sections. Now, I went to the Impact every day at practice for like 3 years, and I was like one of 3 people that was interested in them on a daily basis. But when Drogba came, there was that mania, right?
Yeah, nothing's changed. There's still 3 people, yeah.
So you get a mania for this type of player. So the point ends with the question, what did you think of all the airport excitement? Because everybody wanted to combine the visuals with the thought about what he thought of it. And he said, that was unbelievable. That was the best thing ever, to see all the excitement for soccer here in Canada, to see how much everybody loves the Impact and is looking forward to me playing for them. It gave me a great boost, and I can't wait to do great things for this team. So why would Ivan Demidov be any different than Didier Drogba when he sees what happened at the airport?
Yeah.
That love that he felt and the enthusiasm that, like it did for Didier Drogba, bring to the arena when he first plays. I want to perform for these people who love me. And that's part of the reason you're doing it.
Yeah, and 100% right. And once again, it's rare that someone does something that is unanimous, that everyone approves of. But I'm going to tell you right now that if we had to take the same decision and do it all over again, we would do it in a heartbeat. And
Tony,
in a heartbeat.
Tony, let me add that if you've got 500,000 people that are interested in anything in the world, you're going to find a couple of people that might not be on board with it, because that's a big number.
Yeah. And we're just a little podcast company that is working very, very hard to try and compete with the big boys who spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to do a podcast. Well, we're number 4 in Canada right now, behind two very big companies who spend millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And we spend a couple of thousand. And we do it out of a living room in Kirkland and out of a bachelor in Villa Sal. And we are very, very, very proud of that. All right, okay. If you have any questions for Brian Wilde on Demidov, this is your chance to ask your questions, because once again, the Eagle has landed. And, we're at about 17,000 views on YouTube of that footage of him at the airport, about 445,000 on Twitter. And once again, Brian, when I started this podcast, I said I've never felt so much pressure to have a good podcast, because could you imagine this one gets less views than doors opening and closing for an hour and 15 minutes? Huh?
I'm sure it'll get much fewer views, to be honest, Tony, for sure. It's not a big news night. They didn't win the playoff spot tonight either, but they're sure close.
What? If it gets a lot less views, you know what we're going to do, eh? We're going to stop the podcast and we're going to open up a new one. You know what's going to be? We're going to be
just walking through doors.
We're going to be going to an airport, or just taping doors open and close all day. But man, that was pretty funny, actually. All right, okay. So I was talking to you about Betway. Our partner Betway is giving you the chance to win an Arsenal jersey, which is pretty cool. I mean, Arsenal is one of the best soccer teams in the world, and it's signed by the entire team. So if you want to enter the contest, you click on the link in the description below, and you follow Betway Canada on Instagram. You have until April 21st, and the winner will be selected on April 22nd. Remember, you need to be 18 years of age and older to participate, and this is only available to people outside of Ontario. So once again, you can ask your questions right now to Brian Wilde. It's a Demidov extravaganza, and once again, it was a good night for the Montreal Canadiens, because the New York Islanders lost, the Detroit Red Wings lost, and but yes, the Columbus Blue Jackets did win, and yes, the New York Rangers did win as well. The Canadiens will be in Ottawa tomorrow night. Brian, I'm going to be there. BPM Sports, the morning show called Le Club du Matin. They sold out a bus in a couple of hours. My show, Le Forum, sold out a bus in a couple of hours. The afternoon drive show, Le Retour des Sportifs, with Martin Lemay, sold out a bus in a couple of hours. And the weekend show, The Tailgate, with Greg Lanto, sold out a bus in a couple of hours. And so we're going to be about 200 strong in 4 buses going to Ottawa. I'm going to make my way down on my bus with my listeners. And but I'm going to be staying there, and I'm going to be part of the Habs post-game show tomorrow night with Matt O'Han, live from Montreal, and Pierre Maguire. I'll stick around for that, and then I'll stay in Ottawa overnight, and I'm going to drive back the following day with some people that are actually driving down, one of which is George Larac, who's driving down. And I spoke with Sonny, earlier this evening of Habs Cave. He's actually driving down to Ottawa, and from there, you'll stay the night, and he's driving to Toronto the next day to watch the Canadiens. Brian, when was the last time that friends were texting each other about the Montreal Canadiens, that people were saying, I'm coming over to your house and I'm watching the Canadiens game tonight, or people would call you and say, come over to my house and watch the Canadiens game tonight, or people would watch somebody arriving at the airport that is a member of the Montreal Canadiens, and everyone scoreboard watching to see what the other teams are doing. I mean, it's so much fun in Montreal right now. It's so much fun.
I've been covering the Canadiens since 1995, and Tony, I don't know why it is, but something is different right now. The excitement level at the Bell Center it's resonating with this fan base more than it has in the past, and I think it's because the expectations of how management has done this and how many opportunities they have in terms of the star players that are arriving and the things that have been done right, and how shocking this all is this year, where they are, just one win away from, because the magic number is now 2 points or less against everyone. It's one win gets them in now. And it's just been so shocking that the fan base is just, they're over the moon at the games. The energy in the Bell Center is higher than I can remember it for non-playoff hockey. There's just an appreciation that is just so significant that you don't get in the kind of middle of a, laissez-faire. We're not building anything here. We're just stuck in the mushy middle forever. This is different than that. This feels more exciting than that. Culminating in 400,000 views for a guy arriving at an airport.
I think there's also something else. And tell me what you think. I think they're all very likable people. I think everyone likes Jeff Gordon. I think everyone likes Kent Hughes. I think everyone likes Marty St. Louis. I think everyone likes Chantal Machabée. I think everyone likes Nick Suzuki. I think everyone likes Cole Caulfield. I think everyone likes Lane Hudson. There's not one person in the organization in any role that is not likable. And there have been years, Brian, where we've covered this team that whether it was a GM, an assistant GM, a coach, a captain, an assistant, or another player, there were times on this team that there were some people in the organization or players that were not very likable. Am I wrong here? Or
No, you're completely right.
And you and I have heard, we hear this all the time, right? It's a tight locker room, right? We've been in locker rooms where some players couldn't stand each other. Mm-hmm. And we knew it. And by the way, this is the best part. When fans would say, oh, because of people like you, the players don't want to come here all the time and this and that. And meanwhile, the players are sending us text messages saying he's like that. Fans don't know this. They got no idea. None. It's because of you. Players don't want to turn this and that, whatever. We know what's going on. There's been times where they went on camera and they told you it's the tightest locker room. They couldn't stand each other. This locker room, they love each other. They love each other. The older players on the team, there's a couple of them. They're big brothers to everybody. The younger players, there's not one who's jealous of the other because he brings in more endorsement money. There's not another one who's more jealous of the other because he gets a bigger applause. There's not one that rubs the other the wrong way because he came in his first year and look what's happening with him and the other one here. There's not one that's jealous because one scores 30 and one scores 35 and one scores 20. There's not one that's jealous because one's got 86 and the other one's got 66 and the other one's got 6. This team, it's hard. We're supposed to be neutral, but there's a big part of me that just loves a lot about this team. It's a good group. It really is.
And I'm
it stays that way.
Yeah, I'm thinking of something Martin St. Louis said about a week ago after the game that I was at. And he said something to the effect of, in the beginning and last year, there was a lot of the veterans who were leading the youngsters and teaching them. And I felt like it was time for the youngsters to give it back. And they've done that. And so he kind of said to them philosophically, veterans, older guys, I need you to lead these puppies out of the wilderness. And now it's sort of then he said, all right, young guys, you've grown enough now. Now you take charge and help these veterans to stay viable in the National Hockey League. And together we're going to keep working. And he challenged the young guys to take over in terms of what they brought to the game. And so it really felt to me like this is what a head coach does. I think a lot of what's happening in the room, when you say they like each other, we all have good and bad tendencies in us as people, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can have a bad day and be a jerk to another person and feel bad if we were a jerk. And nobody's just always good all of the time. But you can get leaders that make you want to be your best self. And I think that one of the reasons that the room is great, and it is really tight. I mean, when they score, when Josh Anderson scored that empty netter a couple weeks ago, he goes right to the bench and 14 guys surround him. Then Brendan Gallagher did it. And I don't know if I've ever seen a guy score an empty netter and go to the bench. before Anderson did it. And then Gallagher did it too. And I thought, like, what, have we started a new trend here? And it's because they just want to celebrate with each other and everybody, not just the guys on the ice.
When Patrick Laine scores goals, Cole Caulfield is happier for
Jumps.
him than when Cole Caulfield scores himself. Like,
You're right.
I'm probably exaggerating to make a point here, but it almost feels that way, right? And they look at Laine with all this admiration because he can shoot the puck through a brick wall, and they're like all in awe and all that stuff. I think it's pretty cool. If you have questions for Brian Wilde, we're going to get to some of your questions. Send them through. Shane Gaumont is at Master Control. And the Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by, of course, Betway, brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi and Playground and Energy Transportation Group, and also brought to you in part by Fruiterie de Lard. It's a family-run business, a mainstay in the LaSalle community since 1995. When Brian started covering the Montreal Canadiens, they're proud to continue offering the same fresh foods and flavors that they have for the past 30 years. From fresh fruits and produce delivered daily to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches. And you'll find personalized service and friendly faces that make you feel like family.
Tony.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Where do you think?
By the way, your
Demidov-
images never look better, eh? I don't know what kind of technology.
I got a new
you're using.
laptop.
Oh,
I got a new laptop. I
figured
noticed that it
that.
doesn't look like I have liver cancer now because of it. The yellows are better.
Oh my God.
Tony, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where does Demidov play? Like, where does he line up?
Yeah.
And when do you think he starts?
I'm going to tell you, I think he's going to start on Monday. In an ideal
Chicago?
world, versus Chicago at home.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think they're going to kind of like speed up the process, because how many skates is he going to be able to get with the team, right? So tomorrow, I don't know if they're going to be able to find some ice for him in Toronto. Saturday, he'll have a morning skate in Toronto. Sunday, they'll be off. And then Monday, he'll have a morning skate. And I think they're accelerating the process because they want him to get in a couple of games before the playoffs. That's number one. Number two, I had this discussion over the last couple of days. This is my way of thinking with Pierre Maguire, Max Lapierre, Grant McCagg, and Simon Snake-Boisvert. Tell me what you think. You can't break up the Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky line. There's just way too much chemistry. And you can't break up the Dvorak, Gallagher, Josh Anderson line. There's way too much chemistry. So what does it come down to? Demidov either plays with Newhook and Laine, or he plays with Evans and Armia. And if you want, maybe you can go a little bit of a long shot and maybe stretch it and say he plays with Kapanen and Laine, and Newhook gets moved, because that line doesn't have a lot of chemistry. So you can actually break it up if you wanted to. I would start him with Newhook and Laine, but I totally understand those who say if you put him with Armia and Evans, you give him two responsible players, you give him a little bit, and he gradually moves his way up, and then you can bring him to the second line. But Grant McCagg had a great point last night. He said there's 2 games left in the season. They don't have a second line. You're not going to win in the playoffs without a second line. Forget about it. You need a second line, because all the efforts will be put on stopping the Suzuki line, not taking penalties, and you lost. So he says you need a second line. You don't try auditions in the playoffs. You try and get the chemistry going now. So by the time you get to the playoffs, you're playing your third game together in game 1 instead of playing your first game together. That makes a lot of sense to me. But I have to admit that 91, 92, and 93 on the same line would be kind of sexy.
I think it's going to be the second line for the reason that Grant laid out. You've brought him here with an express purpose. You gave him an ELC to start right here, right now, with an express purpose, because you said this isn't just for 4 games or 3 games or 2 games or even 1. It's to do well in the playoffs. So with that in mind, let's go win some playoff games. So you better have a second line to win some playoff games, because you're not going to win any playoff games if that's the black hole that it's been all season long. It's one thing to, run this winning streak together against poor teams, or they've beaten a couple good ones too. But to win a series against the Washington Capitals, you can't have a black hole second line. You got to have, light coming out of that and greatness. You've got to compete on all 4 lines. And with him on the second line, with Laine and Newhook, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting.
the Canadiens have more of a chance of surprising the Washington Capitals or the Toronto Maple Leafs, and why?
Oh, well, because Toronto's such an underachiever, the answer has to be Toronto. I mean, until Toronto wins a playoff series, I'm losing, pool after pool after pool picking these guys. They let you down all the time.
You think the Canadiens have a better chance versus Toronto than Washington?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely.
really?
Not even close. Well, what has
Not even
Toronto ever
close.
proven? Not even close. What has Toronto ever proven?
Well, I know.
They lose every year.
Yeah,
They're
Washington's
terrible
won
every single year.
Washington's won a cup in the meantime. I get it. Like, I hear you, but
It's going to be interesting with Washington because they're so good. We shouldn't jump ahead too much here. There's going to be plenty of time to talk about this as a theme, but they're great down the middle, right? I mean, they rebuilt that entire middle in brilliant fashion, like all credit to them. I meant Strom and Dubois and Eller, and I've forgotten who the 3C is at the moment, but I mean, down the middle, they're
Dowd.
Okay, they're fantastic. So, wow. Congratulations for what you've done. You're the best team in the NHL. I don't think why anybody looks at the best team in the NHL in the regular season and then puts it against Toronto, who can't win a playoff series to save their lives, and says that the harder task is Toronto.
I think Washington's overachieved. I think they put over their head.
Well, yeah, but why?
Well,
why would it drop down though, Tony?
Yeah, but how many great seasons has Dylan Strome and Pierre-Luc Dubois had? You know?
So they couldn't play well in the playoffs, you think?
Well,
how many good playoffs has Austin Matthews had?
No, he hasn't had very good playoffs. No, you're right about that. I think Toronto finally has a coach.
Yeah.
I think they finally have a coach. Because the coaches that used to be there, what did they win? But this one won.
Yeah.
The Chief won. Berube won. I look at Berube. I could be wrong, by the way. I look at Berube going to Toronto having the same impact as when Barry Trotz went to Washington. When Barry Trotz arrived in Washington, he said to everybody, the country club is over. We're going to go through a culture change. And I think Berube is bringing that to Toronto. Now, I'm not telling you Toronto's not going to lose in the first round because there's some teams that are pretty good there. But a lot of people will say the Canadiens probably have a better chance versus Toronto because of an emotional high, because of that rivalry. I don't know. I think the Canadiens have a better chance versus Washington. I think Washington spent it. I think there was a lot of energy towards getting Ovechkin that record. I could be wrong here. I really could be wrong. I think there was a lot of energy towards getting Ovechkin that record, and I don't know. I don't know how much energy they'll have left in the playoffs.
I think Toronto hasn't succeeded year after year after year after year for a reason. And the reason is they don't know how to succeed. I know that sounds so simple, but don't look for change unless
we heard the same thing
changed.
about Ovechkin though for the first 13 years of his career. Great in the regular season, right? But at one point he won, right? So
So you're saying this is that one point that they finally have figured it out. For me, and anybody and I'm not a gambler, don't get me wrong. I'm not a betting man, but a betting man will always tell you, like, if the Kansas City Royals had lost 21, and this is the lesson I learned, very quick little lesson. When I first started betting, I was 19 years old, and the Kansas City Royals had lost like 14 games in a row, and I said, well, they're due. And then I doubled up every single night thinking they're due. And I think they finally won at like 32 games. So like I lost so much money doubling up. Like, and the point is, if somebody's lousy at doing something, keep predicting them to be lousy at doing something. So until the Leafs prove they know how to win a playoff series or two, with the same personnel, Marner's the same guy, Matthews the same guy, Tavares the same guy, Morgan Riley the same guy, you know what I mean? Like they didn't just change the uniform and put new guys in it. It's the same guys that haven't succeeded. I'm not taking them to succeed until they succeed.
Yeah. I hear you.
Point
Toronto did win a big playoff series versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, and
won.
I hear you. I think they got better goaltending this year than they have had in a long time.
I like Tampa in that division, Tony.
I like Tampa in that division too.
That's who I'm taking this year is Tampa.
They look like they're re-energized and they're ready to go, man. They look like
Florida's played long seasons.
They have, and I think that's what happened to Tampa too. Had got to 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals, right? And they had won 2 of them and they lost 1. But Tampa looks like they're, my God, they look like they're on a mission right now. Every time they play, they score 5-6 goals. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And are you hoping that, do you think that you will, Tony, see tomorrow night with this 5 bus trip in Ottawa? You think live you will see the Canadiens make the playoffs tomorrow and the Montreal Canadian fans take over the building essentially in Ottawa when they do that? I mean, Ottawa doesn't want to lose in their own barn and watch the Canadiens celebrate.
But they've clinched the playoff spot, and Detroit now, Florida now has won the last couple of games, so they're starting to pull away from Ottawa. The Canadiens will play with a lot more urgency, I think, than the Senators.
So you're predicting a Montreal win?
I think there's a pretty good chance. I think the only urgency that Ottawa has is that the Canadiens have laid the smackdown on them twice now since the 22nd of February, right?
Yeah.
In Ottawa,
I think it just sorry, Tony.
Yeah.
I think it just sets up a perfect scenario, like in terms of the magic number is 2 or 1 against the teams that are remaining. So a win gets Canadians in. And wouldn't you know it, they go to Ottawa, where Ottawa fans just hate how many Montreal fans are in that building. And now you got 5 buses coming. And there'll be the usual amount of people that come, and then another 1,000 or 2 that are going to come because they know that the playoff spot is on the line. It's going to feel like half of the building is a Canadian fan and the half is a Senator fan, and it's going to anger everyone in Ottawa. And it just feels to me like it's the perfect storm for the Canadiens to win their playoff spot. Skating around the Ottawa arena, celebrating with all their fans, but in the wrong city. It just feels so Montreal-esque.
What a great spot the Canadiens are in, Brian. Listen to this, okay?
Yeah.
The Canadiens are 6 points up on Columbus. Both teams have 4 games left in their season. The Canadiens have 3 more regulation wins than Columbus. So, you know what?
And the row.
Correct.
And the row.
So which is regulation plus overtime wins, by the way, for those wondering. The Canadiens are 6 points up on the New York Rangers. The Rangers have 3 games left in their season.
Just 1 point.
The Canadiens have 8 points up on Detroit, and Detroit have 4 games left in their season. The Canadiens have 8 points up on the Islanders, and the Islanders have 4 games left in their season. So really, the ones that are, the best shot other than the Canadiens is the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? They're the best shot other than the Canadiens. And so the Canadiens, we know, are in Ottawa tomorrow night, in Toronto on Saturday night. On Monday, they host Chicago. And on Wednesday, they host Carolina, who will have nothing to play for, by the way. Chicago's got nothing to play for. They're done. They're out of the playoffs. The Blue Jackets' next 3 games, or their 4 games remaining, the Blue Jackets will be at home versus the Washington Capitals on Saturday afternoon. The following day, they're going to be in Washington versus the Capitals. A couple of days later, they're going to be in Philadelphia versus the Flyers. And then on Thursday, April 17th, they're going to host the New York Islanders. Brian Wilde, I've been saying it now for a couple of days, but the Canadiens are going to the playoffs, Brian.
Yeah, I think websites that worry about that and do the math on it, like Money Puck, I think they are at 97.5%, right? So like they need only 1 result themselves or 1 bad result from anyone else. They're 1 point away for the playoffs against the Islanders, the Rangers, right? And Detroit. And 2 points away against Columbus. So any win or any overtime loss or anything from those other teams where they don't run the table and it's theirs. It's a shock, Tony. This is a shock that it was not even close. All of those teams were 8 and 9 games over 500 and they all fell apart, Tony.
Yeah.
All of them. When have you seen in the last month? Remember a long time ago when Stu and you and I were on together and it looked pretty grim. And then you guys said you didn't think they were going to make it and you didn't think we were going to make it. And then I surprised you and I said, I think they're going to make it. And you got Like you kind of laughed and everything.
Yeah.
Well, what happened? I said it that night. None of the teams loaded up. They all just said we're fine here. And then the message they sent to everybody was we don't care. And then the players played like it. Whereas Nick Suzuki walked into Kent Hughes' office and said, "Don't sell anybody. Let us see what we can do here." So all of those teams that were 9 games and 8 games and 7 games over 500, they're now all 2 and 1 over 500. It's a shock.
Yeah.
It's an absolute shock that only one team played good hockey down the stretch. And now we're a week from the season end. And when's the last time that the whole playoff scenario was settled 6 days before the season ended? It never happens.
Could you imagine if they do settle, they have a chance to rest Mike Matheson. They have a chance to rest David Savard. They have a chance to rest Josh Anderson. They have a chance to rest Armia, right? I had mentioned Suzuki at one point, and a couple of people looked at me and said, "Oh, he's got a Iron Man streak going," and that's true. And you know what? He'd probably like to hit 90 points too, so I can understand that. But and you know what? I think they're really going to try and get Cole Caulfield his 40 goals. He's 3 goals away.
Great.
There's 3 goals away from 40.
How much do you think he wants it?
Oh, I think he wants it badly, yeah.
He celebrated that 37th pretty hard.
Hey?
He celebrated that 37th goal pretty hard, but it was also a huge goal in the game, tying at 1. So, there were 2 reasons for Caulfield to get that excited, but because I've never seen him as excited as that goal number 37 that he scored the other night.
This has been a lot of fun. I want to thank everyone for watching our live stream that we put up at around 7:25 p.m. or whatever it was till about 8:35 p.m., 8:50 p.m. or so. The numbers were absolutely huge. Shane Gaumont, can you give us the numbers one more time on what the numbers were on Twitter? Give us the updated numbers. How many people have had a chance to watch that? 480,000 people.
That'll live forever, Tony. I think people will talk about that for a very long time. That 500,000 people watched Ivan Demidov go through the doors to not even be welcomed in Montreal, but to be welcomed in another city with a bunch of fans at the airport wearing Montreal Canadian paraphernalia.
Well, what I think
watching on Twitter and YouTube and wherever else you put your sick podcast. I think that will live for a very long time, Tony, that will be the reference for a very long time of how crazy Montreal Canadian hockey fans are for their sport and for a star who's expected to be one of the best players in that league in a couple years to arrive here. The fandom is amazing in this town.
So Shane Gaumont and Master Control, I've sent you something, which is it's a pleasure to see some tweets from some people in the business who understand the business. Jean Trudel, for some known as 25 Stanley, and he's the first one who came out with that site and then ended up selling it years later. And he's got a Stanley 25 podcast now. John Trudel knows the streaming game. And there have been others as well who have been very supportive of what we did tonight. I think there was a tweet from Mark Dumont. So I say hi to Mark, who was very supportive. Alex and the people over at FTV have been very supportive because they're in the streaming game and they know the importance of streaming. They've evolved. Not everyone has, and not everyone understands the importance of streaming. That's where we are at in 2025. Jean Trudel at 8:04 p.m., so 3 hours ago, said, is Tony Marinaro right now having the biggest live stream in the history of Quebec? I've never seen a stream, he says, with more than 60,000 live viewers, and to think it's covering sport and at an airport with some doors opening. Now, I'll say this. First of all, I told Daniello and the Cavaleros to get over there. I did, but they're the ones who were in Toronto, and they're the ones who did get over there, and they're the ones who had the phone, and they had their 4 people in that family. and all 4 of them were working. One of them was taping live. One of them was taping just in case the live would go down and would have footage. Another one was snapping pictures. Another one was uploading videos. And another one was actually streaming it live. And, it takes a team. And I think we're a real good team, and I think we work really, really hard. And I'm really happy with what we were able to do tonight. I think it's pretty cool because you know what? We gave the Canadiens fan base, although it wasn't unanimous once again, and you're always going to have a couple who are going to say this or that or whatever. We gave the fan base what they wanted. That's the footage that they wanted to see.
And their sponsors.
And we gave our spsponsors.
Come on, man. Your sponsors probably
exposure.
open for 10, 15,000 on a good night. 480,000? That's insane. They got to think they got their money's worth for the next 10 years on that, Tony.
Well, we're going to contact all 4 of them tomorrow for a 3-year contract extension. I think tomorrow's a good time.
Good timing. Good timing. Yeah.
I think tomorrow's a good time.
Good timing. Yeah.
So once again, it's a team effort, and it's a lot of fun. It's fun right now in Montreal. It really is, and I think the next couple of weeks at least are going to be really, really fun. And now I have a bunch of buddies, by the way, who are telling me, no. You're not coming home from Ottawa on Saturday morning. Ask for the accreditation. You're going straight to Toronto from Ottawa. And I'm like, oh my God. So now they want me to go to Toronto on Saturday night. We'll see. I don't know.
Sleep in the van.
I have I could hitch a ride. I know I could do that, but I have a hard time with long road trips. Like for me, 5 hours in a car, 6 hours in a car. It's so tough. Like I have a hard time with it. Really hard time. But,
do a podcast. Time will fly.
Live from the bus.
From the bus. 5 hours on the bus.
We'll do a streaming. We'll take people sleeping on the bus. You see how many people are watching.
You get 1 million. You get 1 million. Playground's going, wow, this is incredible.
Brian Wilde, enjoy the Montreal Canadiens in Ottawa tomorrow night and enjoy the Canadiens in Toronto on Saturday night. And it looks like Monday is going to be a lot of fun because it might very well be Ivan Demidov's first regular season game with the Montreal Canadiens. And if it is, you just know that the Sick Podcast is going to plan something special, right?
Nice.
Talk to you soon, Brian.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers.
For Shane Gomo and Master Control, thanks everyone for watching once again. And a special thanks to Betway. The Montreal Canadiens are going to make the playoffs. They're 6 points up on the Columbus Blue Jackets. They put themselves in a really good spot. Go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200. If your first bet loses, scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. All right, okay? There we go. Just had another text message coming in. Want to see what it was? It's all cool. Ciao for now. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. I'll be in Ottawa. Matt O'Hain will be here in Montreal. Pierre Maguire will join us. We'll bring you the Habs post-game at around 10 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. Same time, same place. The Sick Podcast.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.